What do you get when you take Jamie Lee Curtis and add a William Shatner mask? You get a horror movie franchise that spanned over 13 movies and only 5 of them really go together. Stick around, Adam and I are going to tell you about the movie. What up, folks? I'm Jonathan Phoenix, the Carolina Storyteller, and with me again is...
Adams to Adams.
My son Adam is with me, and again, we're coming at you with another bonus episode for the Let Me Tell You Carolina Story podcast, the last one of the year. Finale's coming up this weekend. That's going to be it for this season. You're going to have to wait till 2024 to hear more from us. But tonight, we're going to talk about, a special movie series. Don't you think, Adam?
Yep.
Really is something special. We're talking about Halloween.
Halloween. Now, this is one I actually do know.
Yes, it's one you actually do know. What's great about Halloween is that it has lasted the test of time, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think so.
I mean, the movies have been going for 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
And since 1978, when viewers first saw Michael Myers on screen, he has been a dominant force in the horror genre. In fact, he was the original slasher. Before 1978, these people didn't exist. So really, Freddy, Jason, Ghostface, Chucky, Pinhead, all of these series kind of owe a nod, a thanks to Michael Myers and to Halloween for starting the whole series off.
Mm-hmm.
So, starting off, you have not seen the first Halloween movie, have you?
No. Wait, yes I have.
You have seen the original Halloween movie? Okay. So, in the original Halloween, we're introduced to Michael Myers as a very young boy. He has slaughtered his sister, who he found I think she was just naked and getting dressed, and he was dressed as a clown when he did it. And he was taken to a mental institution where he was kept for some time before he got out again and came back to Haddonfield, Illinois on Halloween night.
Mm-hmm.
And we are introduced to Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, the original Scream Queen. She's a Scream Queen, not a Scream Queen. Okay? Let's get that right. He does just some really bad things in that first movie.
Yeah, he kills people with a knife.
Yeah.
Wears some bed sheets too.
Yeah, he does wear bed sheets at one point. And, we get so many of the original tropes from that very first movie. Now, they filmed this movie over 2 weeks. I can't remember where it was that they filmed it, but they literally shot this movie and then had to go back to the same place a year later to shoot the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Because this movie was so big. But one of the weirdest things about this movie is just how simple it really was.
Yeah, tell me about that budget.
I have no clue what the budget on it was, but it was really tiny.
Had to be less than $1 million.
Oh yeah, way less.
Maybe less than $300,000.
And the creepiest thing is Michael Myers' look. He wears just some blue work coveralls that he actually steals from a garage, and a Halloween mask that he got that is actually, this mask was not made for the purpose for someone to wear. It's actually a William Shatner Star Trek mask that they just took the paint off of. Like, literally, they just cleaned all the paint that made it look like William Shatner, and it was Shatner's face, just plain white, over the actor, and for the entire time, we know his name is Michael Myers, but in the credits, he's listed as, what's he listed as?
The Shape.
That's right, The Shape. Yeah, so he's not even listed as Michael Myers. The original killer was named Michael Myers, but the monster that he embodied was just called The Shape, because most of the time what you saw was just this shape of him kind of
the
emerging
silhouette.
from places. Yeah. And he'd have this thing of like standing there and staring at his target and then just disappearing.
That was one of the coolest parts of those movies.
Yeah, you see somebody and they look out the window and boom, there's Michael Myers looking up at you. and then he's gone. Another great thing was the simplistic music in the intro of the movie.
You cannot forget the classic Halloween theme.
Yes, that theme it still carries over today, and it gives me chills. It really does. So let's get into the movie. In the first movie, like I said, Michael Myers, he kills his family on Halloween night when he is a very young boy. He is taken to a mental institution where he is treated by a Dr. Loomis, who believes Michael to be truly evil. Truly evil. And he escapes the mental institution when he is moved without Dr. Loomis's recommendation. Because, listening to the doctor of a patient is just not something you do in movies.
Nuh-uh.
No, when a doctor says, hey, don't mess with that patient, he's going to do something bad, you mess with that patient because the doctor doesn't know anything. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't listen to Dr. Loomis. Michael gets out, and so he returns to Haddonfield, and Loomis follows him. And Loomis immediately goes to the sheriff and is like, look, you got to shut this town down. We've got to hunt down Michael Myers. And what does the sheriff say?
I don't remember.
Nah! I mean, the sheriff, of course, says no. And so Loomis is kind of a one-man hunting spree looking for Michael Myers. So he enters Laurie Strode. Laurie is actually Michael's cousin. Michael's family, Michael's mother was Laurie's aunt. So they actually still own the Myers residence.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to sell the house. And of course, when Michael goes back, first place he goes is to the house. I don't know why Loomis didn't look there first.
That seems kind of obvious.
It would seem like that would be the first place to look. But what he sees is Laurie coming and checking on the house. So he immediately becomes fixated with his new target. And his target for several other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So Michael goes after Laurie and tries to capture her so he can do the stabby thing that he does oh so well. But she ends up being around a whole bunch of adult teen. They're supposed to be teens, but hopefully they were adults because you got to see certain parts, and goes on a killing spree. One of the first kills he gets is, I think,
against the boyfriend, right?
The boyfriend that he pins up to the wall with the knife.
Yeah, and then he stabs him with the knife, and then he takes a bed sheet, throws it over himself, and wears the boyfriend's glasses when he goes to kill his girlfriend.
I think that's the second and third kill. I thought the first kill was when he stabbed the chick in the car when she went out to check the laundry earlier.
Maybe. It's been a while.
And that's just it, it's where we get this. Like I said, there are so many tropes from horror movies that come from the very first Halloween movie. She's sitting in the car to smoke a cigarette because she's not supposed to, and she's hoping she doesn't get caught. And all of a sudden, the killer pops up from the back seat, and she's dead within seconds. There's no getting away from it. All of this leads to Laurie finding out that there's a killer in the house. She immediately runs back to the house where she's been babysitting these two children, and Michael comes after her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to protect the children and get away from Michael. So she gets the children secured, and of course, Michael is constantly hunting her down with the knife, trying to stab her.
The iconic kitchen knife.
Yes, it is the large kitchen butcher's knife.
It's not a butcher knife.
What is that knife?
I don't know, but it's a large kitchen knife.
It is the large kitchen knife. But he's constantly chasing her down with it. And so the confrontation comes to where she thinks she's beaten him not once, but multiple times. And just as she thinks she's beaten him, Michael pops out of the shadows behind her for one last go. This ends in her stabbing Michael with a coat hanger and him getting shot multiple times by Dr. Loomis, who has arrived on scene, and falling out of a window. Now, you'd think that'd be the end of Michael Myers, but as they're escorting the terrified Laurie Strode away, we get a shot out of the window, and where Michael was laying moments ago, supposedly dead, there's nothing. Michael is still on the loose. And then the music starts. That same slow, two-tone piano music with the deep bass underneath, telling you that somewhere, because we're seeing all these empty, luminous spaces now, and there's no Michael anywhere to be seen. And this actually leads directly into Halloween 2.
Especially for that first movie, they really did bring him back like 2 or 3 times.
Well, yeah, like you'd think he was dead once. And, we've always, Scream highlights the tropes of a horror movie. And one of the ones is that this is the point where the killer comes back to make his one last scare. Mm-hmm. And at which point, Nancy, well, we will talk about Scream at some other time. Mm-hmm. But, that's one of the big things, is that when you think the bad guy's done, he's not done. It leads directly into Halloween 2. Like I said, 2 weeks to film the first movie. They went back a year later, and then 2 weeks filmed the second movie. The second movie, Jamie Lee Curtis has been taken from this horror scene, and she is being treated at the nearby hospital. Now, what do you think Michael Myers is going to do about that?
He's going to come after Laurie Strode again.
Yes, he is fixated with Laurie Strode, and this is a theme that actually goes for several of the movies in the series. Michael is fixated on ending this line, and for some reason, Laurie is the line he wants to end. So he ends up making his way through police, he ends up killing neighbors, he ends up getting to the hospital and chasing Laurie to the hospital, and eventually he ends up back at the Myers house itself. We have some of the same tropes revisited, but this time, Michael is captured and taken back to the Haddonfield Sanatorium. So you think that, after Halloween 1 and 2, which literally go together.
Yeah, Halloween 3, Michael Myers comes back.
Yeah, somehow he's breaking out again, right?
Absolutely.
Halloween 3 is Halloween Season of the Witch.
Huh?
It is the least popular Halloween movie, and my least favorite. I really do not like it. They wanted Halloween to be an anthology. So the first 2 movies were supposed to go together, the third and fourth would go together, It was supposed to be a Halloween anthology. And had they kept up with it, it probably would have become a good series. But Season of the Witch was so horrible. I'm going to give you the plot, and you're going to look at me like I'm stupid, okay?
Okay.
This witch has decided to turn children into pumpkins.
What?
Yeah. On Halloween night. She's turning them into jack-o'-lanterns. She has dogs that have pumpkins for a head. There are moving pumpkins.
This sounds like something out of Hocus Pocus.
It is something. It is a very bad version of Hocus Pocus. And what's bad is that the witch doesn't even look witchy. Like, she's using the computer screens and everything, kind of like a bad Power Rangers villain. Rita Repulsa would have been a better name for her, I think. And honestly, had the Power Rangers come in and save the day, it might have saved the movie. But they didn't. The movie bombed. Like, literally, it was made in like 1983, and it was on TV in 1984. Come on, it was not a good movie. So in Halloween 4, It's the return of Michael Myers.
Of course.
Because it's what they should have done with Halloween 3 if they weren't going to make another good movie. Halloween 4, they bring back Michael Myers.
Of course. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, but he doesn't go after Laurie Strode.
That sounds okay. Okay.
He goes after somebody else's kid in his family, his other niece, who is a child.
Okay.
And he gets blown up.
What?
Yeah.
With like dynamite?
Yeah, at one point he gets blown up in the end of this movie. So you're like, okay, now they've killed Michael, right? He's blown up.
With dynamite? Like,
yes, with dynamite. He's dead, right?
Probably.
No.
No, of course not.
No, he's not dead. He's nowhere near dead. Michael Myers comes back in Michael Myers 5. Halloween 5, I'm sorry. And I can't remember the tagline of that. And I wish I could right now. But anyway, he comes back yet again and goes on a killing spree, still going after this little girl. But it's a little bit later. And, in this time, he gets his mask taken off, and the girl recognizes him, and he doesn't hurt the girl. And the mask coming off seems to stop him from wanting to be a killer. It's as if he needs the mask to be Michael Myers.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, well, he puts the mask back on and then goes back to killing, and then again gets killed. This time I think he gets dropped into a well or something. Either way, Michael is dead, right? No. Halloween 6.
No, of course.
The Curse of Michael Myers. This one totally goes off the rails. And I'm going to tell you why this movie went off the rails. In The Curse of Michael Myers, the entire plot behind The Curse of Michael Myers is that Michael is actually the embodiment of some kind of Nordic, Druidic harvest demon.
What the hell?
In order to ensure good harvest, one member, a child, is marked with the mark of thorn, and he must end his family's line. And because Laurie, who supposedly, they're assuming Laurie is dead at this point, they don't really mention Laurie, but because this young girl has now grown into a teenager's alive, Michael must be re-risen to go and end the family line. He has to be reawakened. He's still in the bottom of the well, but he climbs out of the well. And in this one, you have one of the children who witnessed Michael on the first Halloween is there, and he's attracted to the girl who's trying to survive Halloween, and they're trying to figure out everything about Michael Myers. And there's this cult now that's trying to help Michael to kill this girl to end the line because that's going to save Haddonfield. Like I said, it goes totally off the rails. And, in the end, Michael, of course, gets defeated. The cult gets defeated. The girl and the guy live happily ever after. And you think, okay, well, this is the end of the Halloween series, right?
Nope, we're doing Zelda. Split timelines.
Halloween H2O. Halloween H2O is the 20th anniversary, released in 1998, 20 years after the first Halloween. Michael Myers returns to hunting his original target, Laurie Strode. But now, Laurie is a teacher in a private school, and she's a little bit ready for him. After all, Laurie was the original Scream Queen, and just like Ripley in Aliens, she's become a badass. This is actually a really good movie, and even though it's kind of outside of all of the Halloween timelines, because you're right, we did Zelda split timelines, it really does kind of feel like it fits in between Halloween 2 and Halloween 2018, and we'll get to that in a minute. It really fits. So I like to kind of think that it's part of that, but if you look at the movies and the continuity of the movies, it's really not. We don't get another addition to the Halloween series for about another 7-8 years, and we get Halloween Resurrection. Busta Rhymes is in Halloween Resurrection.
What?
Yeah, Busta Rhymes.
The rapper?
Yes, the rapper, Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes has decided that he wants to make one of these reality horror TV shows. He wants to do something like Fear Inc., what MTV did. What he's going to do is he's going to get a whole bunch of college kids, and he's going to take them into Michael Myers' house, because that's a good idea, and he's going to film them. And he's setting up to film this horror movie in Michael Myers' house. He wasn't counting on Michael being there. Nobody knocked and asked if he was going to be out for the weekend. But he's doing it on Halloween in Haddonfield on the anniversary in Michael Myers' house. And Michael proceeds to kill everybody.
What is happening? What is this like a reboot?
It wasn't a reboot, actually. It was supposed to be a follow-up from 1 and 2. It's technically still in the original series, but it's kind of an offshoot. But remember, Halloween 2018 kind of resets everything. So it kind of counts, it kind of doesn't. Like I said, we're doing Zelda timelines here. In this movie, Michael Myers has been loose for some time, but everybody thinks he's dead. He hasn't been active for years. But they're going into the house because, like I said, this is a paranormal show. They're doing a paranormal investigation in the house. So they have recorders, they have lights, but they don't have weapons. And they're locked into this house with Michael Myers.
What did they think? Michael was a ghost or something?
Oh, they thought Michael was gone.
Oh.
And of course, Busta Rhymes has an ingenious idea. He dresses up as Michael Myers. Now, he's only going to scare them. He's not actually going to kill them. But Busta Rhymes, dressed as Michael Myers, meets Michael Myers. But he doesn't believe it's Michael Myers. He thinks it's his buddy, who Michael has already killed, dressed as Michael Myers. And he has an argument with Michael Myers where Michael looks at him and is just kind of like, my bad. let me go over here and kill somebody. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't know we were running the same street.
What the hell?
Yes, this scene just drives you bonkers.
It's like they turned it into a comedy movie.
They did. That was the most comedic scene. But when you think about it, if Michael ran into himself and he doesn't know any better, remember, Michael Myers is considered to be, mentally insufficient. But he's also considered to be extremely intelligent. But maybe running into himself would be enough for him to go, wait, am I yelling at me? He's never heard his voice in forever, so if he's yelling at him, maybe he believed it, Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, in the end, Buster and the final girl, who is completely unmentionable, really, end up electrocuting Michael, and the police end up arriving, and the news cameras roll up, and Buster is like, Michael Myers is a killer shark, dog. And that's the end of Michael Myers, supposedly. Halloween Resurrection ends it. Which is good, because Rob Zombie thought he was going to take what he had done with House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, and he was going to do it to the Halloween franchise. So Rob Zombie does the Halloween 1 and Halloween 2 remakes. Mm-hmm. These are basically the same as Halloween 1 and 2, only with new actors. Some things change, but it's the same movie, same story. Michael Myers is a little bit more vicious. The gore's turned up. Everything's kind of turned up to 11, but it's really the same two movies.
Is it like a shot-for-shot remake?
Close, but not really. Mm-hmm. But he did take some liberties with the filming, but it is a plot-for-plot remake.
Okay.
So, and when you look at something like that, you can't really count them as part of the timeline. You can't count them as not, because they're a little bit different. So, yes, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 exist, but they are their own self-contained entity in the Halloween series. And since we've already covered Halloween 1 and 2, I'm just going to kind of, give you what I thought about the improvements. I think Rob Zombie did a really good job with the first movie. I think he really upped the action, he upped the level. His Michael Myers was definitely scarier. The masks changed throughout the movies, and honestly, he had one of the better masks for the first movie. The second movie, I don't think, was as good as the original second.
What was wrong with the mask?
Nothing was wrong with the mask. It was the same mask in that, but I'm just saying the movie. Movie-wise, I think the original second movie upped everything up, and Rob Zombie's kind of didn't. He already raised everything, so it couldn't, he couldn't continue on. And props to Rob Zombie for making an excellent movie, but all of a sudden we thought the Halloween franchise was once again dead. And remember, Halloween franchise has died now 4 times, but just like the killer in a horror movie,
it always comes back.
Yes. So remember, Halloween 6, we thought the franchise was dead.
Yep.
H2O, we thought the franchise was dead. Resurrection, we thought the franchise was dead. Rob Zombie comes back, we think the franchise is dead. That's 4 times already.
Did we think, sir, the franchise was dead? Or did we think that Rob Zombie was going to do Halloween 4?
No, we never thought Rob Zombie was going to do Halloween 3. He kind of said he was done after 2.
Okay.
He felt that was the encapsulating story. Until we get Halloween 2018. Now, this was actually shot in Charleston, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we come back full circle to Laurie Strode. Laurie is now 40 years older and 40 years crazier. Mm-hmm. But Michael hasn't been out of the jail in 40 years. So everything that happened between Halloween 2 and Halloween 2018 technically didn't happen. Maybe Halloween H2O did, but definitely not Halloween Resurrection. Michael has been. It is kind of left vague. But basically, this is Halloween 3. Halloween 2018 is the third in the storyline, which means that, like I said, we Zelda storyline to everything else. Mm-hmm. And what happens in Halloween 2018 is that Dr. Loomis has passed on and turned his treatment, Michael's treatment, over to another doctor. Mm-hmm. This other doctor isn't as tough as Dr. Loomis is, and they decide to transport Michael from the psychiatric facility where he's been treated for 4 decades. Understand that. 4 decades this guy has been in treatment, And now all of a sudden the state government goes, we're going to take this psycho and we're going to put him over here.
Wait a second, this happened after Halloween 1. They've done this before.
Yeah, that's actually how he got away in Halloween 1, after he killed his kids. So they kept him for 4 decades in the same place, under Dr. Loomis's care, who was his original doctor. And now that Dr. Loomis is dead and this other guy's taking care of him, and this other guy was Dr. Loomis's assistant for 3 decades.
Uh-huh.
Now that this other guy is in charge of him, they decide, hey, we're going to move Michael again.
Excellent idea.
This doesn't go well.
What? You could have fooled me.
This does not go well. But before we get into how badly it went, we're going to introduce some other characters.
Okay.
First, we want to introduce Laurie's daughter and granddaughter. That's right, Laurie had a kid. And having a kid drove her practically insane. Laurie now lives out in the woods and she is like this super tough, I have guns, I shoot everything. These reporters come along and they're like, hey, Laurie, we want to talk about Michael Myers and about what happened. You know, do you think that you're just as bad as he is?
What?
Yeah, the reporters are asking her, we've seen Michael, we went and met with him, we even have his mask. You're freaking psycho, reporters. Anyway, Laurie kicks the reporters out, goes back to being secure, and goes back to shooting mannequins. Laurie's daughter doesn't like Laurie very much because Laurie raised her daughter, preparing her to fight Michael Myers to the death. And so Laurie's daughter lives in this comfy home in town with her daughter and her husband, who is basically an asshole. I don't like Ray. Did you like Ray?
No, I didn't.
I didn't like Ray either.
I should note that I've seen this movie.
Oh, yes. This is the one that he's seen. This is some of the ones that he's seen, so he knows this one. I didn't like Ray. Wasn't a fan of Ray. I was kind of glad to see what happened to Ray, but we'll get to that. Anyway, they don't like dealing with Laurie, but Laurie's granddaughter loves Laurie. So the two of them kind of have a private relationship that her mom doesn't know about and that her dad doesn't know about, where they see each other, and Laurie gives her, like, weapons and shit, because Laurie's fucking crazy.
Cuckoo.
Anyway, as they're transporting Michael, what you expect to happen happens. The vehicle wrecks. Unsurprisingly, Michael somehow manages to kill everybody just about that is keeping him from getting out, releases all the psych patients, only injures his doctor. Now, this is funny because I didn't mention this before, but Michael and Loomis kind of had like this adversarial relationship. Outside of where he was under Loomis's control, he wanted Loomis dead because he felt like Loomis was the person that could stop him. So the fact that he left the doctor alive always bothered me at first, because that seems kind of like the person I would kill.
Yeah.
And the doctor's been shot, which is weird. Who shot the doctor? We don't know. But he's not injured too terribly badly. So, of course, the first person to show up is this dad, and he shows up to try and figure out what's going on. And they had been out hunting, and
wait, you're telling me that the bus crashed right outside Laurie's house?
No, right outside of town. It wasn't outside Laurie's house.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of town. But this dad and son are driving along, and the dad gets out, goes to check the bus, tells the son to call 911. The son goes to go back to the truck, and the truck drives off with someone mysterious driving the truck.
Ooh, who could it be?
The next stop is, of course, a gas station, where we find a pair of blue coveralls mysteriously get snatched off of a hanger. And at the gas station just happens to be our two reporters who are in possession of what? His
mask.
Yeah, so they get killed very, very quickly in the bathroom.
How brutal.
Yeah, he brutally kills one of them. And then Michael goes and gets his mask and drives into town. And he's starting to kill his way in town. Now, this is where it's interesting, because at this point, the police have found the wrecked vehicle, and they've gone and told... They found the wrecked vehicle, and as they're looking into the wrecked van, they find the doctor, who's been shot, he's injured, and so the doctor and this police officer who's introduced, they go off hunting Michael Myers.
They've got to find him.
Yes.
There's only one place he would go. I mean, this dude worked with a doctor for like 30 years.
Where's he gonna go?
He's gonna go to Laurie Strode.
No. Remember, where did Michael go before he found Laurie Strode?
He went back home.
That's right. Michael is literally on a path to go home. You don't find this out until later. But he's not going to Laurie. He's not going after Laurie's daughter. He's not going after Laurie's granddaughter. He's going home. That's where he went home last time, and everything started, and that's where he's going now. He likes to protect his home. Now, they got that right in Halloween 1. They got it right. Well, I mean, of course they did it in Halloween 1. Mm-hmm. They got it right in H2O and Resurrection. But every other movie except for this one, they didn't get it right. And really, you don't find out that's what he's doing until nearly the end of the movie. But the doctor and the police officer find Michael while he's killing his way. And
New Haddonfield.
Yep. And, of course, the police officer hits Michael with a car and then goes to kill him. Because...
it's Michael Myers.
Yeah, shooting him in the head is probably the best thing. At this point, the doctor stabs the cop that we've liked this entire movie in the neck. Because it turns out he's helping Michael. And then catches Michael's niece, who's now in, or not Michael's niece, Laurie's granddaughter, sorry. Well, yeah, Michael's niece. Laurie's granddaughter. Throws her in the back with a knocked out Michael Myers. Oh, and sitting on her lap is Michael Myers' mask. So now Michael is in the truck with him, and
awkward.
He drives them to Laurie. Meanwhile, Laurie has gone and gotten her daughter, gotten her her son-in-law, convinced them that Michael Myers is out killing people, and they've decided to secure everything there. They're trying to find the granddaughter, but they can't. They don't know where the granddaughter is, and this doctor is driving to where the sheriff has, set up this big secure perimeter to protect everybody at Laurie's basically fortress of a house.
She really locked that place down.
Except for the front door. It's very interesting that the front door was made the way it was. Anyway, Laurie has set this whole place up to protect herself from Michael and to protect her family from Michael. As they're pulling up, the doctor sees the police down the road and he stops. Well, when he stops is when Michael decides to wake up.
Amazing.
And puts the mask on. And he basically kills the doctor to get out of the truck and then goes to kill Laurie's niece, Laurie's granddaughter. But Laurie's granddaughter makes a run for it and ends up getting to the house. In the meantime, the police see this weird car, see this other police car that's not moving, and they go to approach the police car.
Amazing.
You can imagine what happens to these poor two cops who walk up on this police car that's being driven by Michael Myers now. It's not pretty.
Cut to some knives in their necks.
Yep, knives in the necks. Laurie's granddaughter arrives at the house and is able to tell Laurie what's going on. Now, meanwhile, the father, Ray, doesn't believe in any of this, and the father, Ray, is an a-hole. So he proceeds to go outside while Laurie proceeds to send everybody into the basement. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. Laurie drives everybody into the basement, and then Laurie starts trying to clear the place like a freaking SWAT team. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ray meets up with Michael, who kills him.
He kills him
very fast. It's Michael, it's Ray.
It's very unceremonious how they did it too.
Yeah, it really wasn't like he just got killed. Like Ray was just dead. And then Michael comes into the house, and he doesn't really get a lot of problems getting into the house. And the first thing he does is he walks around and he's looking for Laurie and the granddaughter and the daughter, and they're in the basement, and Michael can't get into the basement yet. He doesn't know how to get into the basement. So Laurie begins hunting him through the house. And you see, as Laurie's hunting him through the house, this is really interesting. She starts clearing the rooms, but as she clears the rooms, she drops down these massive fire doors on each room that she cleared, basically cutting off hiding places and escape routes. In the end, she ends up coming across Michael. They fight, and he stabs her, knocking her out of a second-story window to the ground, where she lands and appears to be dead, right?
No.
But when he looks back, she's not there. She's nowhere to be seen.
That has to be one of my favorite parts of the movie.
It's a direct tie-in to the original. It was wonderful. And so it's the first time. Laurie's dead. No, Laurie's not dead. What the hell is going on? Michael then goes back to the kitchen. He finds the island that's covering up the way into the basement, and he starts beating on the island, trying to get in, and he rips the island off. And now down in the basement, terrified, is the granddaughter and the daughter, who's holding a gun, ready to shoot. But she's been trained, so, she's ready for this. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't take the shot yet, and Michael's kind of standing there, and in the shadows, Laurie Strode's face appears. Direct tie-in from the movie. She says, "Hello, Michael," stabs him in the back. The daughter shoots him across the face. Michael tumbles into the basement. The girls run up. Laurie pulls a lever, and all of a sudden, these spikes just seal across the hole. Laurie looks at her daughter and says, "Start it." And they start turning on these gas knobs. This wasn't a fortress to keep Michael out. The entire movie, you thought that the purpose of this was to keep Michael out, and Michael was this unstoppable force that could get through anything. This entire house was a trap built to keep Michael in, and now he's trapped in there, and the last thing she does is light a match, and the whole place goes up in flames.
Amazing how this ties into our previous episode about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Really does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly how Five Nights at Freddy's 6 ends.
Yeah. They trap it and burn it up. So Michael Myers is done at the end of this movie, and as they're being driven in the back of a pickup truck, they're all wounded. They're all battered, haggard, and wounded. Laurie has this massive gash where Michael stabbed her. She might not survive her injuries. The fire trucks are going to Laurie's house, and as they're driving past, you hear, "No, let it burn!" And this leads into the next two movies.
I think Halloween 2018 was a pretty good movie.
I think it was a great end to the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they messed up making the next two movies.
And they should have, because these next two movies are awful.
So in Halloween 2018, as I said, Michael goes back after Laurie, and you think this is going to be the end of it. But in the next movie, Michael survived the fire. It turns out that Laurie had in there a gun case that was fireproof, where she had been storing her weapons. Michael hid in there until the firefighters came in. And then he killed the firefighters. And then he killed his way out to firefighters. And then he killed every firefighter outside.
Because Michael Myers can just solo an entire battalion of firefighters.
Yeah. And then he proceeds to make his way to Haddonfield. Well, meanwhile, in Haddonfield, people have heard Michael Myers is back. And among these people are the traumatized children from the original Halloween movie. Kids who had suffered, they had seen their friends, their family, whatever, die during the Halloween series. So they start deciding that they're going to go hunt Michael Myers. And so this entire movie is about people just losing their minds trying to hunt Michael Myers. And of course, the people hunting Michael Myers, well, they get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
But it's really
about how they get their ass kicked, where the movie just falls apart.
In one scene, there are, 4 people in a truck?
In a truck, yeah.
And Michael is behind the truck.
Yeah.
And, next thing, he's on the truck. He kills the driver. Mm-hmm. Then he kills the passenger. Then the one girl is shooting him with the gun. He hits the gun and then shoots her with it. He kills her husband. It's just a massive bloody. Michael is all of a suddenly Old Boy and Jackie Chan mixed together in these killings.
Yep. The woman with the gun doesn't stand away from Michael with the gun. She chooses to rapidly approach him with the gun in hand.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's something we see a lot in this movie. People approaching Michael Myers with guns in hand, and Michael just taking the bullets like they don't matter. So the movie continues on with Michael on a killing spree, and once again, we now realize Michael's going home. You can trace the path of the murders he's committed directly to his house. But in the meantime, the granddaughter of Laurie Strode's boyfriend, who was an asshole in the first movie, so we didn't talk about him, he happens upon the we thought dead cop from the first movie that the doctor stabbed in the neck. He is able to get him to the hospital, and he and Laurie team up at the hospital, hoping to find a way to deal with Michael. The daughter and granddaughter, they're fighting because the daughter wants to end this, wants to kill Michael.
No, it was the granddaughter that...
Yeah, I'm sorry, the granddaughter, you're right. The daughter is like, no, we need to listen to Mom here. We need to listen to Mom. We need to just stop and try and figure out something. He's not going to be stopped.
That's not what happened. I think Laurie literally wakes up and is immediately like, yeah, we gotta go kill Michael.
Well, the granddaughter gets in with the lynch mob. The daughter, on the other hand, has found out that someone who is not Michael is suspected of being Michael in the hospital. And she tries to protect this man. And the mob mentality, everybody wants to kill Michael.
Everybody thinks this short... he's pretty fat, too. He's short,
fat, he's scared. They chase him through the hospital in this massive mob. And it's the entire scene is meant to show that we're the monsters, not Michael.
But it completely falls flat in how nonsensical it is.
Yeah, it really does. And in the end, Michael ends up going back home. He ends up killing the people in his house. And he ends up killing the granddaughter's boyfriend and almost killing the granddaughter before her mom shows up and stabs Michael in the back with a pitchfork.
A pitchfork?
Yes.
She stabs him in the back with a pitchfork, pins him to the ground with a pitchfork,
and then pulls the pitchfork out.
She pulls the pitchfork out of Michael. He is on the ground, prone, with a pitchfork in his back, and she decides to take the pitchfork out and step away from him.
Yes, but she has a plan. She leads Michael a couple of streets down and into a trap where all the townspeople have gathered to kill Michael Myers. And in this
it's really boring,
very poorly choreographed scene, they all take turns stabbing and beating and just shooting Michael Myers until he's down in the ground. And you think, oh, this is how Michael Myers is going to end. They're going to kill him like this. This is really unceremonious. I'm not a big fan of it.
And then, 80% of the people who are doing it just leave.
And then Michael
Myers
gets back up and starts fighting back.
And he just starts killing everybody.
And he kicks all of their asses. He really does.
Just by himself.
Yeah, Michael does it.
Because Michael Myers is a trained expert in hand-to-hand combat.
He apparently is. I mean, he's like Solid Snake.
Screw using, stealth and, terror tactics.
Michael just beats the crap out of all of them.
Yeah, he just wins.
And then in the end, he goes back to his house where the daughter is staring out the window to try and figure out what Michael's obsession with it is, only for Michael to kill her.
Very unceremoniously. It's very boring. I think he just stabs her or something.
He just stabs her. He comes behind and stabs her, and that's the end of...
And then they just end the movie.
Yeah, that's the end of the movie. And now the final movie is 4 years later. Everybody's kind of forgotten about Michael. Laurie is writing a book. She now lives at home with the granddaughter. She's become Susie Little Homemaker. Michael hasn't done anything for years. Nobody knows what happened after that. He got his ass kicked. He went back home, and then nobody knows where he went.
What was the name of this movie again?
This was Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends. And this is the end of the Halloween series. They actually finally do it right as far as ending it. But the story doesn't even really follow Michael for most of it. It follows this
teenage boy who's dating the granddaughter.
Yeah, this guy there was an unfortunate accident where a young boy died, and it really was an accident. He didn't mean to kill the kid. But the young boy died after being a dickhead, and everybody kind of called him a killer and picked on him. And he has a chance meeting with Michael Myers and comes out of it an aspiring serial killer. and then he starts killing people left and right. And really, he does most of the kills. Michael doesn't show up until kind of the end of it.
One of my favorite scenes is that when the kid first meets Michael Myers. Michael Myers in this timeline has been established to be able to handle fighting a dozen people at a time who are equipped with firearms and melee weapons, and just have him surrounded and he solos all of them, but this one kid beats him up and takes his mask.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Like I said, it didn't make a lot of sense. But Michael ends up getting the mask back at the end when the kid plans to kill the one and only Laurie Strode. He wants to kill Laurie so that he can be with Laurie's granddaughter, which Laurie isn't going to allow because Laurie's just not going to let that happen.
It's just so annoying because like 70% of this movie is dedicated to this.
Yes.
It's not even about Michael Myers.
It's not. It's about this one kid and the granddaughter's romance, where while this one kid is becoming a serial killer like Michael Myers, only for Michael Myers to show up and kill him. Now, granted, Laurie Strode had already beaten this kid's ass in a few minutes before Michael showed up to finish the job. But Michael turns up to finish the job. And as such,
there is that one good scene, though.
Which one is that?
The one where Laurie gets to be a badass again. Like, after she thinks she's ruined her relationship with her granddaughter.
Oh, you mean where,
she writes a suicide note and calls her granddaughter. And thoroughly convinces the kid who is in love with her granddaughter
that she's going to commit suicide.
That she's going to kill herself. He's listening this whole time, and he's thoroughly convinced. And he moves in, going to open the door, and she has the gun pointed straight at him and says, "You really think I'd kill myself?"
Bam!
That part was cool.
That was typical Laurie Strode.
Only for it to be followed up with this terrible scene where he pins his own death on Laurie, and then the granddaughter walks in, and it's like, all over again.
And then, of course, Michael comes in, and Michael does his bit of killing, which we love.
And Laurie and Michael have their final showdown, which is absolutely the highlight of the movie.
The highlight of the movie is definitely that showdown.
Sadly, it does not last long.
No, and it ends with Michael ending up pinned to the table with butcher knives. And
not butcher knives, just kitchen knives.
Well, they use kitchen knives. They kind of pin his leg, they pin his hand, and then they proceed to cut, like, all his main arteries so that he bleeds out. And lastly, the cop from the very first movie that has been injured and that has shown a crush on Laurie this entire time walks in and does what he wanted to do back in the time of Halloween 2. He puts 2 in Michael's head. That is the end of the Halloween series. And arguably, I'm glad after that movie. Don't get me wrong, I think Jamie Lee Curtis was great in all 5 of the movies she was in. But
definitely
when you're doing a timeline like that, you know, and 3 of the movies are good in the timeline, 2 of them suck, and out of the 13 Halloween movies that are out there, only 5 of them are in the timeline. There's really something kind of wrong there. But overall, the Halloween series isn't all. I say that these movies are not great, but these movies are great. They just aren't as great as the original. The original was something to be beheld and something to cheer about.
If you want to have a good time watching Halloween, watch the first 2, then watch the 2018 reboot. Mm-hmm. I say reboot, but it's a continuation.
Yeah.
And then Michael dies in a fire, and that's how it ends.
Yeah, I mean, it really, the 3-movie trilogy. You can add H2O and Resurrection if you want some good laughs, because they are good movies. But yeah, kind of skip the rest. If you want to throw in the Rob Zombie movies just for a good night, you can do that. You're definitely going to be entertained.
Maybe
but
Halloween 4.
Stay away from Season of the Witch. I can't stress that enough. Anyway, folks, that's all we've got for you today. Halloween, great movie series. We're probably going to watch some more of them over the weekend. Hope you guys have a happy Halloween. We'll be back next year, or maybe later on this year, I'm not telling, with more movies and games and stories. Thank you again, and stay spooky, my friends.